Forget about it just being Thursday, February 19th. It's Brick Day here on Damon Bruce Plus, and we're co-streaming over on JT's channel as well. My good friend, it was so great to see you during this Super Bowl. We hung out a little bit on Media Row, but I swear to God, my favorite moment of the entire week was hanging out at Original Joe's with you and all your North Beach boys from your old stomping grounds, man. Jillian and I had such a fun time with you that night.
Yeah, that was really important that you were able to make it out. And my buddy, Tony Cambo, who's at the Fillmore for over 30 years, he set that reservation up like a month in advance and really strategically did it. He got an invite for a table for 8 inside the restaurant. And then we kind of, as you only know how to do, we took over an area of the bar where you can sit down and kind of took some energy there. Oh my God, what a great time I had in San Francisco. I loved the Super Bowl in San Francisco and all of these triggered political hacks who said, I saw a needle as I walked to work, or no. San Francisco was fabulous. I lived there. I know the city. Other than traffic going from the wharf over Russian Hill into Moscone, which if you know, obviously had to get around that, which would be other ways, then other than that, it was a little trafficy, but I loved it.
A little trafficy is what it becomes every rush hour in San Francisco. That's kind of the way it goes. It was good. I thought it was a great week for the city. I thought it was a great week of PR. I know that Michael Irvin has come out and said San Francisco shouldn't get another Super Bowl. And from a logistics going down to the stadium conversation, I'm not going to argue with him, but I did think that downtown really represented well. And again, it was awesome to see you. I think most people had a really good time. Everyone from Cincinnati was happy to be out of 15-degree weather and standing in California. And it doesn't take you much time in San Francisco to figure out how gorgeous this city truly is. And it was awesome to have you back, man. You're one of this is your town. You still get mail here, baby.
Yeah, I do. And I'll tell you, I've always fought for the town. And when there are moments, again, where it gets kind of politically weird, which happens where I'm from in New York or in San Francisco, I live in Nevada where there's no state taxes, right? I get into those topics more on podcasts. I try to avoid it on radio. But the key to this Super Bowl significantly for me was this: the weather. Very important topic. The weather was Maui. I've been to San Francisco where if it's raining, if it's just wet and cold and damp, it's not good. Sorry, it's not. It was 75, felt like 80. Every time I came out of the Moscone Center or went to my hotel room on the wharf, I was in a T-shirt. There wasn't a cloud in the sky. I could see from the Golden Gate to the Bay Bridge. Alcatraz was like at my hands. I'm like, this is the best I've ever seen it. So they really lucked out. And like you, the whole thing with Santa Clara, San Jose is a mess. Whoever that mayor of San Jose was who wanted to get, good for him, wanted to get some events down there, I would never go. So I didn't see that.
No, we didn't make it down there, but I will be going down to San Jose for a Sharks game with the boys.
Yes.
Max and Celebrini, it's officially happening out here, JT. That's kind of fun, man. But look, it's great to have you. Thank you so much. As you know, I got just a little housekeeping. Real quickly, I got to go through. First of all, my good friend Ike of Ike Sandwiches, who you saw on Radio Row.
Yes.
That man's feeding the people. Go ahead and get your sandwich at Ike's and make sure you sign up for that Love Rewards program. When you do, you start eating your way to free sandwiches. Our friends at the Dubliner West Portal, we freaking love you guys. Thank you so much for supporting the channel as always. And our friends at Sleeper, they now have team picks. You don't just put parlays together over on Sleeper. You're not just taking player over-unders. Team picks now available on Sleeper. Use promo code Damon, get $100 off your deposit. Get $100 matched up to a deposit up to $100 by using the link that is right in the top of the description of the very video that you're watching right now. Thanks to Sleeper, you can take the Celtics straight up against the Warriors or vice versa. No Curry. Could be a Kristaps Porzingis sighting for the very first time in a Warriors uniform, and we'll maybe get to that at the end. We'll
please do, because I could mix in a little Steph Curry load management with that, along with LeBron, the two guys who should never, ever load manage, so we could get into that at some point in this live stream.
I'll say this, though. Curry's knee is not right. I mean, he didn't even go out there for that 3-point contest. We have Dame Lillard missing a year because of an Achilles. He was out there. He wins it. I'm like, Steph couldn't go, but he's not playing tonight. So there's something wrong with that knee for sure. Anyway, JT, let's quickly clear things up here. We want to make sure that everyone knows right here, right now. Is this a rerun? Raiders first downs coming over from your channel, JT. No, this is not a rerun, baby. We are live right here, right now. Let's talk about our crossover topic. And I think this is why we reached out to each other this week, because right now there is talk of a possible trade. The 49ers may be interested in Maxx Crosby. It even sounds more like Maxx Crosby might be interested in the Bay. I don't know if he just bought a house here. He put out a terrible verse of a rap song that suggested that he did. Let me just ask you, first of all, before we even talk about the trade, what has gone wrong in Las Vegas with what I would think would be one of the most important player-team relationships there is? Is there discontent for Maxx Crosby with the Raiders?
Yeah, as far as I know, no. And I'm pretty up to speed on this topic more than anyone you're going to talk to, because I'm friends with Max and I'm emceeing his event a week from tomorrow, the Commitment to Excellence Award. He's the only Raider to win this 5 times. And Tim Brown's won it, Charles Woodson, Jim Otto, right? So the names that have won. So I'll be with Max a week from Friday backstage and with him. And I'm not going to sit down next to him with his wife and my wife and go, "Are you staying? Are you staying?" He's under contract. Okay, first off, he's under contract. Number 2, no one has talked to the Raiders about a trade with him. It's all bogus. This has just been bloviators, mostly influencers, not insiders. If you go look at Adam Schefter and Ian Rappaport, 1 and 1A, they're like, no, it's not perfect, but no one's asking for a trade or not. So let's break this down. Could Max end up moving at this stage? Sure. Of course he could, because he hasn't won and he's not playing in meaningful games. He was shut down at the end of last year because he was injured. Now, did the Raiders try to win those last couple of games? Not the typical way I'm used to from the Al Davis days and even Mark Davis days, where win at all costs. We all knew that Mendoza was on the table. They shut down Bowers, who was injured, and they shut down Max, who had a real surgery. Saw him in crutches the other day. So that happened. But as far as I know, Damon, there's a lot of smoke here. Someone could tag me a month from now if he gets traded, or 2 months, and say, "Hey, JT didn't know." No one knows. No one knows this. And Max loves Vegas and he loves being a Raider. He has it tattooed on his chest, the Raiders shield. So what more do we need to know?
What's the best thing about him as a player?
The best thing about him as a player, great question, is he's the hardest working player I've ever seen. And I'll put Rich Gannon high on that list. The former MVP guy was just getting in at 4 a.m. Max beats everyone to the building, which is insanity, because he really beats everyone to the building. He never stops working, never takes a play off. And again, look, if you compare Myles Garrett, TJ Watt, all of those guys, Myles Garrett plays on a really bad team, TJ Watt on a better team. Max has developed him into such a great run stopper, a tackle for loss guy who can read the play, not only get to the quarterback, but secure the edge and tackle in the run game. So I think the world of him. A lot of people ask me about players over my career. I know a lot of the alumni and Hall of Famers really well. Most of the players, they don't know me. They don't see me. They're in their 20s. They walk by me in the building. They don't know me well. Max does. I think he's one of the greatest Raiders of all time. I just hope the Raiders can quickly flip this with Kubiak and Mendoza, and Max is happy and wants to be here for the winning years, which are coming.
So that, to me, is where I really wanted to talk to you, because I think that one of the things that always kind of gums up the work with the Raiders is no one can really agree on what the rebuild timeline is supposed to be. You know, they throw like what feels like, hey, this could be a little bit of an instant solution, with Pete Carroll. And obviously that did not work out the way anybody thought it would work out. There have been, all right, we're going to take it slow. We're going to slow play this moves. And then they lose patience with Kubiak. And what is sure to be Mendoza's the first overall pick. What do you think a realistic timeline is to turn the Raiders around from, look, you're going from, and this is not me putting my cigarette out in anybody's forehead here, but a full-on rebuild from a culture of losing. That's what's going on here. And I think that Mendoza, since he just did that at Indiana, I mean, no one knows more about taking a perennial loser and making them matter as much as I think Mendoza comes into this situation with just that mindset. I think he's the right guy for the situation. But what is the real timeline that you think Kubiak has in mind from, okay, today's my job, but now we're competing. Now we're seriously a team with playoff aspirations. Is it a 2-year plan? Is it a 3-year plan? I think the right timeline is needed. And obviously a trade of Maxx Crosby, should there ever be one, would be an indicator to the way that the team was thinking. Are they kicking this down the road for 2 or 3 years, or do they kind of want to win as fast as humanly possible, which I think is a mistake that a lot of teams trip over?
It's a fair question. I would think, and I'm not going to put words in Kubiak's mouth. I had the first interview with him, and he wasn't talking about that. He just wasn't. I think he understands the depth of what needs to happen here. But I think a 2-year plan makes sense. This year coming up with Mendoza, I mean, they got like 9 offensive coaches. I don't know if anybody's paying attention to this, but even Mike McCoy, a former head coach, they gave the title of assistant head coach to, and not OC. They got Janoko from Seattle. Wow, with Kubiak. So, and then they've added like 4 other guys. So they're gonna have, you're gonna be happy as an Indiana guy. They're gonna have 7 guys in the quarterback room and gonna have to bring in extra chairs because everybody's gonna be like, "What do you do?" "Well, I'm the assistant OC." "Oh, what do you do? What are you in the room for?" "Oh, I'm the run game coordinator." "Excuse me, we have an OC here." "Oh, I'm the pass game coordinator." So you're gonna have all these guys in the lab. So I look at the Bears and the Commanders. The Commanders drafted Jaden Daniels. They went to the NFC Championship game. They weren't very good. And they didn't have a lot of great players, but they had a great offseason in free agency in the draft. Let's throw out the Patriots of last year because that was perfection. They brought in the right coach. They had Drake May. They had an incredible draft. I think everybody who's drafted played. It was something crazy like that. And they did well in free agency with some of the guys that they brought in. For the Raiders, what I think is realistic is you got $100 million in cap space. That's second. You follow the Bears philosophy. The Bears got 2 brand new offensive linemen in free agency. Raiders will exactly do that. Not close to it, exactly. I don't know about drafting an offensive lineman in the 4th round. We did that last year when Pete Carroll wouldn't even put him in the games. In week 15, Pete Carroll didn't even put the 3rd round offensive lineman in the game. Really? So that's all going to change now. So offensive line, offensive line, offensive line. If you keep Max with Bowers, Genti, Mendoza, a rebuilt offensive line, then you can really fill in some holes in the offseason next year and make a run at the playoffs. I believe that.
What's your impression of Kubiak? I mean, let me just say this. You're going to be a very born-again Raiders team under Kubiak and Mendoza. These are very faith-forward guys who, like, hand out Bibles in the locker room, that level of faith-forward guys. So that can either really play well in a locker room or it can rub some people the wrong way in a locker room. Religion and Vegas really aren't, bedfellows we put together very often, but this is what's coming to the Raiders. How are they going to handle that?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. The Vegas thing's overrated. Most of these guys live in an area called Southern Highlands or Henderson behind guard gates, play golf, and go to the Strip once a month. So it's probably, believe it or not, more low-key than New York, L.A., and Miami, but that's a different topic. The faith-based stuff we had for 9 years were Carr. You didn't find anyone more faith-based other than Tebow than Derek Carr. Carr with his ministry and what he said. So that's great. I love when people talk about their faith. Kubiak seems to be a guy, I've had the pleasure for almost 30 years, probably 20 of the 30 years, to get the interview with the coach every week. So that's me. And I didn't miss one in Vegas. And we had Antonio Pierce, rah-rah guy. Josh McDaniels, very similar to Kubiak, cerebral, play-calling wizard. We had Gruden, who was epic when it came to a sit-down interview. We had Rich Bisaccia. And then we had Pete Carroll, who couldn't have been cooler to sit down with. Wow, what a year I had with Pete Carroll. I wish we would have won. To sit down with Pete Carroll for a year for 10 to 12 minutes was amazing. So getting back,
the interviews were better than the games.
well, Damon, I'm happy you bring that up. We got a lot to cover here. The shrapnel I caught last year, not so much from the fans. There's always going to be some trolls here and there, but imagine going 9 weeks in a row in my position and interviewing a coach coming off a loss. Okay, it's the in-house interview, so it's not the you suck, you can't win, fire your son interview. It's in-house, just like the Niners do it and others. And every interview, you're starting off what happened, and from a guy who's just got the DNA of winning. So Kubiak, here in Raider Nation, we're not looking for a guy who's going to be rah-rah, look at me. This is going to be a guy who's going to be in the office, even with young kids, and his light's going to be on at 11 at night, and he's going to be back in the office at 6:30 in the morning. He's going to draw up plays, and with a lot of other guys from Mendoza, Bowers, and Genty. And I think it's going to be interesting. If it turns out that he wins a couple of press conferences because he bangs his fist, or he's disappointed with the loss or really happy, I can promise you this, there'll be no cigar parties. I can't guarantee anything, but if the Raiders win a game and go to 2-3, they're not going to be lighting up cigars in this locker room, because he comes from Gary Kubiak, who won a Super Bowl. And he grew up as a young boy with John Elway on the phone and in his living room with his dad. So I love his coaching tree. You learned a lot through Bill Walsh with your great work in San Francisco, the tree. And this tree also goes through Kyle Shanahan, who you cover as good as anybody. So this is a guy the Raiders wanted, Damon, and they got him. Imagine if they didn't get him and waited until after the Super Bowl, and then they didn't get him. Then we'd have one hell of a podcast to talk about.
I know that you were talking about Brian Daboll or maybe even McDermott, who, by the way, is a man without a job. That's kind of interesting. But to me, you could almost hear Tom Brady hire Klint Kubiak in that NFC Championship game. He was just glowing about how much the Seahawks offense was clicking that day. Look, I think they got the hires right. I really do. I even saw today they added Rick Dennison as an offensive line coach. That guy brings decades of football experience into a room that, again, a full-on culture rebuild, a full roster rebuild, a full team rebuild. And, man, I'm going to be rooting for the Raiders with more personal interest than ever before, because Mendoza changed my football life. I went from miserable to happy. Yeah. I want that kid to be so successful. Put a wall in front of him. Let him go to work. He throws the best back shoulder fade you've ever seen in your life, JT. He's going to be a good quarterback, I really hope, for the Raiders.
One thing on that topic. One more thing on that topic of culture. This is really important for our audiences, and welcome in everybody as we combine forces. How great would this be? Do you know how much better this is than any radio show in the Bay Area today? A lot better. With all my friends who are still left there. Think of the culture of the Raiders. The Raiders have had Antonio Pierce, John Gruden. They've had plenty of good culture. Maxx Crosby in that locker room. Culture's been fine. It's not like we're fighting in the locker room. There's a couple of knuckleheads, Christian Wilkins, get him out of here. A couple other guys that you got to get going. But I've always said that in sports, most of the time from the NBA to the NHL, especially the NHL, the culture's fine. You just start losing games, and then you can't start winning. Then when you lose 8, 9, 10 in a row, everybody's going to have a tough time showing up to work. The Raiders haven't had much of that problem, even when they were losing. So I think what has to happen now is the Raiders have to win some games in the division and feel like they're the Raiders again. And you saw that at the press conference with Mike Haynes, Jim Plunkett, Howie Long, Marcus Allen. There was a reason, Charles Woodson, that Mark Davis brought those guys back. Mark did not sit at the dais. He sat in the back row. And he's letting Tom Brady and John Spytek do this. But he also made it clear, we want the old-timers here, the legends here, to welcome Klint Kubiak, and they did.
It's good. It's good. But again, no one cares about history anymore. It really doesn't matter anymore. It's about what you do. Obviously, if history meant that much, they wouldn't have made the bold move to Las Vegas. This is about the new. And I just think Mendoza will hopefully be that reset that this franchise has desperately needed. Resetting the coach, resetting the city, resetting the financials, resetting the stadium, resetting the facilities, None of that has turned this around. Hopefully Mendoza will be the guy. I really do think you got a gem of a human being coming in. But beyond that, who cares? He's a really good quarterback who shows up on game day and plays like a lion. So I'm really excited to see what happens. What is your face-to-face like been with Tom Brady?
Fun. I met him once. I met him once at the opening of his Hall of Excellence Museum. Tom Brady, whenever he's in the building or not, I'm not aware of that. I'm pretty confident his relationship now is not only owner of the Raiders, owner, not consultant, and it's a big piece, and owner of the Aces. They've won a lot of championships recently. Tom Brady's got a unique life. I mean, he's got young kids. He travels. He's got multiple businesses. But he's really in charge. He's got a lot going on with this. A lot of people ask me this, and it's really a difficult question to answer. They say, what's Tom Brady's role? And I say, it's big. And they go, well, what do you mean by that? And I go, I can't explain it. It's just big. You know that there's not a decision that's going to be made when it comes to football, personnel, philosophy without going through Brady. Will he be demanding? Yeah. Will he defer to the other owners and listen to other people? Yeah. So it's very difficult to figure out exactly what he does from day to day. But I can tell you that Mark Davis has tremendous confidence in him with the role that he has. And you want to do a documentary at 30 for 30, you take a look at how much he bought, when he bought it, when they approved it, and look at the bleeping price of this thing now. I mean, everybody bought a house. I've been to yours. You've been to mine. Your house goes up and down. The Raiders have exploded financially into the top 5, I believe, and even more because I saw you tweet out the other day, I think, when we're talking about what's Seattle worth, right? You think it could go to 7 or 8. When the Raiders, which I don't think is going to happen, are available, it's going to be like a Cowboy or 49er deal. The premium is going to go up over market, and we're talking 10 billion, 11 billion years from now. So Tom Brady made a very astute move, Damon Bruce, becoming a part owner of the Las Vegas Raiders.
You're not breaking a little news there that Mark is thinking of selling this or flipping this in any way, shape, or form.
No,
right? All right.
No, not at all. But what I'll say about Mark is, and I've said this to everybody who pays attention, Mark has never been about the money. He's not. Look at his outfits. Look at the cars he drives. He's building an unbelievable home here. I'm going to be with him tomorrow in the East Bay. We have a celebration of life for a former Raider employee. And Mark's not a guy sitting at home counting his stacks and going, I got this. I just put a new pool in. He's not. Mark wants this to work. He's tried really hard for it to work. He's flipping this team and coaching staff every time they prove they can't get it done. Now with Kubiak, I'm here to tell you there's going to be a level of patience that we haven't seen because the Raiders have just fired too many coaches and paid too many of them off to do it again. This is it.
To me, the skeleton key that could unlock the success finally reaching Las Vegas is John Spytek. I think he's sharp, man. I think he's a real sharp knife in the drawer. Tell me about Spytek and what his priorities are going to be with $100 million to spend and plenty of premium picks here in the upcoming draft.
Wow, another great question. I mean, Spytek is sharp, and he comes in a very difficult situation. Year one as a GM, as a standalone GM, he's got Pete Carroll, who had a lot of power. Come on, Pete Carroll was 73, turning 74. Pete Carroll decided on who was going to play, when they were going to play. Pete Carroll, which I'm fine with, fired Chip Kelly, kind of micromanaged that side of the ball and the defensive side, which he should. For John Spytek to handle all that, when normally the GM, is working coinciding like that, I think they both got along. I don't have anything to add in regards to their relationship, but it's going to be nice to see John Spytek have his first, because last year I put an asterisk up there because Pete Carroll was heavily involved. This is going to be John Spytek's offseason with the draft and free agency. The Raiders got 10 draft picks, including the number 1 overall. They're second in the league in free agency with money, and they got some good players already. As I've said, the Raiders are better than people think on paper, but the problem is they got to nail it. It's such a big topic that I love talking about in politics. When you want to win a primary or win an election, you have to thread the needle because our country is so divided, and it always comes down to a suburb in Ohio or Pennsylvania to describe the presidency. Why is it so close? Because of a lot of issues. It's the same thing in the draft and free agency. The Raiders have to thread this needle and be perfect. And you already get an A out of the gate with Mendoza, and your next pick is the first pick in the second round. You can't screw that pick up. You can't. So you're already going to get an A. Is it going to be an A plus, an A, or an A minus? So the Raiders are going to buy some offensive linemen, have a pretty good draft, and that's what we're hoping for because, man, we've hoped for this for quite some time with other regimes, and they just didn't get it done.
So Jillian and I are going to need a pair of Raiders tickets this year. We're coming out for a Mendoza game for sure. We're also going to need you to get on Fish at the Sphere tickets. I'm going to need you to use all of your Vegas might and power to get me up in that 400 level. I've got shut out everywhere. I need you to come through for me, brother.
It's still a brutally tough ticket because there are no hooks. It's interesting you say this because we're both big concert goers, right? We love concerts. Everybody says to me, I live in Vegas. What show should I go to? I go, what? What'd you say? You don't have to go to a show. We have residencies here and concerts here, 4 or 5 deep every weekend. Bruno Mars, Cher, there's this, there's that, there's Fish, there's the Eagles. So there's something going on. But every Raider ticket is sold. Every ticket's sold. So I can make a call, but they're sold. And every Sphere ticket seems to be sold. And you got to go through the secondary market. Don't sit in the 400s. Do the floor. Man, I love the floor because you can see the band. Yeah, you can look up. Yeah, you got to look up. So your neck works. Look around and
JT. I'm going to get vertigo. I had the stroke. I got bad balance. I'm going to fall over.
You could have vertigo being that close. But you know what? A big story that no one's talking about, which is, I'll give you breaking news. A little breaking news. There's a big story out of New York that James Dolan might split the Rangers and the Knicks. He owns the Knicks, he owns the Rangers, and he owns MSG. And everybody's putting this out, Front Office Sports and Forbes. I'm like, are you people all missing the point? The Sphere lost so much money, so much. It was supposed to be built for $2 billion. It cost $4 billion. It sat empty for most of the time, right? There's no concerts there every night other than residencies. Now that they put in the Wizard of Oz, and they put in some DJs, and they did the Eagles and Fish coming back, they're really starting to bring in income. But the reason Dolan is splitting up the company is to pay the debt service on Sphere, which is enormous.
Let me just say, no matter what that guy's financial fortune has to go through, the Sphere is a gift. I love that place. Is unbelievable. It's the only thing that Dolan's got right in his entire career, as far as I'm concerned. So it's the only time you'll ever hear me say thank you, Jimmy Dolan, out loud, because that place is so spectacular. It's so special. It's so unique. And I heard the plan is to have like a whole bunch of little spheres or smaller spheres start popping up in other locations like IMAX movie theaters. Do that. I mean, once you go in there, it's hard to just go back to a normal concert. It really, truly is.
Oh, you nailed that. You nailed that because I saw some live music in San Francisco, which I love. But I will tell you that when you go to see a show at the Sphere, you will never, ever have an experience anywhere else close to it. We have T-Mobile Arena out here, which is the home of the hockey team, which has got everything. And it's pretty new and it's pretty modern. So every band that can't play the Sphere, because you got to be elite to play Sphere. You cannot go to the Sphere with an aging singer. And you can't because they'll get exposed. You can go to T-Mobile, and then we have all these other big venues, MGM, which you've seen Fish at, the Mandalay Bay, massive. We get the Fountain Blues got a theater along with Virgin. Some of the best theater experiences I've ever had. But when you go to Sphere and then you go to the other place, you're like, oh boy, man, well, you just, it's not Sphere. So there is a little bit of that problem going on.
It's not just the visuals, which are so overwhelming. It's the sound in there. It's one of the best sounding shows I've ever been to. It's special. We could do the rest of this show about the Sphere. We really could. But I got a couple of other things to get to. First of all, I like international games. I don't begrudge the NFL expanding internationally. They've pretty much taken over the continent. The only other place to grow is globally. The international game also fits into I have a 6-year-old and 4-year-old get me out of bed very early in the morning, every morning. So I wake up, put the coffee on. Hey, what do you know? We've already got a game at halftime here in London or somewhere. Like I like it. If I didn't have the kids and weren't up that early, I probably wouldn't like it. I'd be like, I'm missing out on a game here. I like the international game, though. Do you think that the NFL has the right plan internationally, or are they overdoing it?
I love it. But here's the problem with the topic. Really big problem. You sound very bougie. Anybody does if you start supporting international expansion, because most people can't afford the red zone and the NFL package. Most people can't afford season tickets. And most people can't afford flying to Munich or Brazil to go see an international game. I love it.
Most people don't go to a single NFL game in person in their lifetimes. So, that's fine with me.
But I like it because the people who can enjoy this, which are the people around the world who want to go. And for someone like me, I've seen the Raiders play in London twice. And when I was in London, we went to Paris. And we went on some other trips because we were there, and you can create a vacation around it for those who can do it. And I love it because it is about growing the sport. Now, I saw the Niners travel schedule for next year, and I thought Matt Mayoko put it out. I'm sure you have something. I mean, this is ridiculous because it's already, when you play on the West Coast, it's already hard to travel because when you're going east, so you're playing the Bills, Miami, the Giants, the Jets, you start adding that in, which the Niners have. Then you put the Niners international games in there. Oh, man, that's going to affect the team. And the Niners are really good. That much travel puts you over the top. And no one travels more than Seattle because even if you're on the West Coast, it's long to get to Seattle. They're always traveling a bunch.
Right. Seattle and Miami are always at the short end of the stick and traveling just because of where their cities are on the map. But I'll just say this. The Niners' first trip is week 1. So you can get to Australia as early as you want. There shouldn't be any time traveling there that should affect the time traveling back for week 2. Okay, now we can talk about, is this fair? Is this not fair? But that's so far away, I don't give a shit. To me, I hope the NFL does right by the Niners by placing their bye week in a place that can really benefit them in this season, since they're taking the international on the chin twice for the NFL. And what I really hope happens is that they're not handed an inordinate amount of teams coming off of a bye week in their schedule as well. To me, that means more than travel could ever mean. One of the best conversations I ever had was with FP Santangelo, who used to tell me, don't ever feel bad for a professional athlete traveling. They don't go in the airport. They go from the bus to the tarmac to picking up food to sitting in first class. Like, these guys then get off the plane, go to the bus, go to their 4-star hotel. You've never in your honeymoon had better travel than a team flying to Cleveland, so don't feel bad for teams traveling professionally. It's pretty set up for success. The bye week and the rest baked into the season. That to me is where I hope the NFL does right by the Niners, since, again, 2 international trips. I don't think that's happened to any team.
Yeah, there's going to be no sympathy from anybody from the Niners and their cupcake schedule of last year. Let me get that into this live stream. The Niners' fourth
turned out to be in the middle. That was preseason. Was very much in the middle. They played the NFC West, first off, far and away the best division in football. Come on.
The Raiders played the AFC West with Denver, Kansas City, and the Chargers, and their schedule is much more difficult than the Niners, and they were a last-place team, too. Look, you play the teams that are in front of you no matter what. But the Niners had that thing. If the Niners were healthy last year, oh, my God. If they were completely healthy with that schedule and some of the teams that they normally don't play that they beat, they would have had a hell of a year. So the Niners had their window last year with that fourth-place schedule to really do some damage. The only thing that held them back was injuries. But, it caught my attention seeing their international slate, how difficult the miles are going to be on them this year, David.
It's going to be a division game in Melbourne. Jillian and I are thinking maybe she really wants to go diving at the Great Barrier Reef. That's a big freaking trip. Big trip. The game in Mexico City, I don't think it's going to be another divisional game. So I don't think it's going to be the Seahawks or the Cardinals. The Raiders, though, are on the schedule.
Yeah.
If there was ever a game that should be in the Bay, it's 49ers and Raiders. But if that game does go to Mexico City, JT, we're going.
Yeah.
If that 49ers, Raiders, Mexico City, we're going.
Yep, I'll be there. And hopefully in my same role with the Raiders, anchoring their broadcast. And I would go on that trip. Now, I think that's going to happen. I'm not here to break news. I think the Raiders haven't traveled internationally in quite some time because they've been rewarded for building that jewel, Allegiant Stadium. So Mark doesn't have to go on the road because he built that thing. So, and the NFL loves it, but it's time for the Raiders to get on the road again. That would be the ideal fit. It would really screw over the East Bay and the Bay Area. I mean, think of that for a second. The Raiders are out of Oakland for all the right reasons politically, and how awful Oakland is as a political sports town. They're the worst. With the breaking news on Illinois, maybe the Bears losing a team to Indiana, you got to be pretty stupid to lose a sports team, let alone multiple ones like Oakland. I wish the Niner game was played in San Francisco at Levi's in Santa Clara, because all Raider fans in the East Bay and the Bay Area would get a game for their beloved team, and they deserve that. But it makes sense to play that game in Mexico City for a lot of reasons.
We did talk about the Seahawks. So you mentioned, you saw my tweet about it. They are going up for sale. Now, we just had a couple of years ago, the Commanders went for $6 billion. Before that, a couple of years before that, maybe even a year before that, the Denver Broncos went for $4 billion, and these numbers just keep going up. I'm setting the over-under at $7.75 billion for the Seahawks. You going over or under?
I'm gonna go over. I'm gonna go over, but it'll be high 7 or right at 8, because I think it's going to be who wants to buy it. Now, what I think is unique, some of the richest men / couples in the world live in Seattle or have roots in Seattle. Bill Gates, who I don't think at this time is worthy of buying a team for a lot of reasons. Jeff Bezos, one of the richest men in the world, could buy the team for a number of reasons. And all the tech money that people think is just on Sand Hill Road and off out of Palo Alto, and there's a lot of it there. No, a lot of it's up in Redmond, Washington. A lot of it is up there from the money that Steve Ballmer made as he went to the Intuit Dome and built that for the Clippers. What a disaster that is for him. But yeah, I think you're going to see a billionaire that maybe outbids another billionaire by $1 billion, where maybe the market on that is 7.2 billion, and someone comes in and goes, no, I'll pay 8. But I will share this with you. There's always a stock market crash. There's always a real estate pullback. It's amazing to me that there's not a pullback when it comes to NFL franchises. Where's the blip? Where's the blip? Where's the, hey man, we're going to come back down a little bit, but we're not going to go over by 20%. We're going to have a 10% decline. We just don't see it because of streaming and international expansion.
That's the thing. They're inventing new games. They're inventing new things to sell off. They're inventing new modes of profit that didn't exist before. And I'm telling you, what the last thing will be, mark my words, in our lifetime, they're going to send a Super Bowl to Abu Dhabi or something like that, because some sheik or sultan is going to turn around and say, NFL, we want a Super Bowl. Here's $5 billion for a Super Bowl. We don't care how much money we lose on it. We just want it here. Do it. And the NFL will take that money.
Yeah, the NFL will take that money. And I've said about Roger Goodell, all commissioners get in the Hall of Fame. Pete Rozelle, Paul Tagliabue, who just passed away. Roger will get into the Hall of Fame and get a gold jacket, is probably the most successful of all of the titans of commissioners, because of what he's done with the television money, which he learned a lot of that from Tagliabue and Rozelle, but what he's done with international expansion, which is kind of on his watch, and what he's been able to do to have the rest of the world bid for the NFL just for a game or two. I always thought Shad Khan would have the Jaguars in London by now. I thought that was the play, because Jacksonville, for whatever you think, it doesn't work. It works a little bit, but it doesn't work. And it would work great in London. And they'd find a way with the bye weeks and the 18-game schedule, which is coming. And giving bye weeks for Jacksonville coming off London games and having to play in the States. But I think there'll be a team internationally overseas, and I think it'll happen probably in the next 5 to 10 years.
By the way, you want to talk about impressions from Media Row. Great seeing you. Great going to Original Joe's, you and your gang. The other biggest impression I have was that's the first time I've ever been in the same room with Trevor Lawrence. Holy shit. Like, I had no idea he was that big. He is huge. Trevor Lawrence. Anyways, Fuji says, would Steve Ballmer be interested in buying the Seahawks? There's going to be a lot of interest. There's going to be a ton of interest. Steve Ballmer obviously just bought the Clippers and built the Inuit Dome and just held the NBA All-Star Weekend. I don't know how much that has scratched his itch of professional ownership, but the NFL is a beast that the NBA wishes it were. So
Steve Ballmer's got a big problem on his hands with that Kawhi Leonard no-show job and what happened there. So Steve Ballmer has got a big PR nightmare. Do you mind if we go back to Radio Row for a minute?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great seeing you. I'm proud of you. You set up your deal. You were there. You had a big setup. We didn't. Our program director did an amazing job. I'll shout out to Q Myers for getting us up there. Man, this guy does 2 shows, 3-hour show during the day, 3-hour show at night for ESPN, and he got us on Radio Row. But it wasn't an ideal location. It wasn't for anybody. They haven't destroyed Radio Row, but I confirmation there were 80 less radio stations this year. 80 less. And, you had the big footprint for McAfee. You had guys like Colin Coward who didn't even go. Like, now you got people that are too cool. They don't want to be at Radio Row. They want to be looking over at Oracle Park, and they want to be somewhere to bust everybody's balls to get a car service and not go to Radio Row. And then you have the minimalization, I don't know if you caught this, of the gaming companies who are getting their ass kicked. Not all of them, but many of them who showed up in Radio Row 3 years ago. Look at us. We're the gaming company. Look at us. We got the gaming. No. You're hemorrhaging. You have no money and you fired everybody. And then a bunch of other local radio stations all over the country that don't have the budget to send more than one show. So you didn't see the fever of a lineup. When I started on Radio Row 29 years ago, you had morning drive till midnight, and you had shows coming in all day and everybody trying to do great jobs. Radio Row is not dead, but it's Podcast Row. It will never be the same. This isn't get off my lawn guy. 2005 to 2008 was the glory years of Radio Row. Yeah. I was in it. I was kicking ass in it, and I'm proud that's part of my legacy, because this new Radio Row, it's not going to be around much longer. It is not impressive.
I don't think so. And I don't know how much I'm going to invest in going to those unless it comes to my backyard or the Niners are directly involved. It was a bad week for my channel. Totally honest with you. In terms of people are not interested. Basically, I think you and I talked about this off the record. That room is just one big media jerk off. And people don't like watching other people jerk off. And that's why my views went down. It's just, if you are in the industry, it's a little convention of the industry. But if you're not, I don't think you care about hearing bad, C- NFL celebrities promote B- products over and over again. I mean, we were just telling no to everybody. Would you be interested in talking about? No one's interested in this. Stop it. Stop shoving this stuff down my throat. So
yeah, I look at it a little bit differently. Now, I'm going to push back on you on that. I think, that's why I was happy you were there. The channel numbers, of course, it's not the best radio. It's not the best work that we do. But if I wasn't there, I wouldn't have had Bo Jackson. Get Joe every year. Get Marcus Allen. What I've discovered, and I want this to be a part of what I've brought to Radio Row. I do interviews over the phone, and no one's figured that out but me. It's like, okay, you sit around, wait around. Oh my God, Brian Urlacher. Okay, come on over. He knows me. Other guy walks by who I know, but I got Marcus Allen, Fred Biletnikoff, all these guys on the phone, and they're in the Bay Area. They're not coming to Radio Row, but I'm still talking to Hall of Famers. So that's part of how I add to that. But what happens is you're now seeing the elitist on Radio Row who don't want to go. They don't want to grind. I'll give you Jim Rome, for example, who I've built that my whole legacy is built on Jim Rome and that arc. And I had a chance to spend a minute with Jim before he went on the air. Jim Rome is still getting dropped off outside the convention center in every Super Bowl, walking in with his briefcase and doing a show. And some of these other guys who've never made the money that Jim Rome made and had the factor that he had in the legacy, they're too cool to go to the Moscone Center. No, man, I can't do it, man. I want to do my show down in North Beach at some private sold-out restaurant. It's a grind. You go to Radio Row to work. And if you don't want to go to the Radio Row, you're telling your audience you really don't want to work.
By the way, we'll be working Fuji coming in with the Super Saiyan. Damon and JT on a camel in Abu Dhabi for the Super Bowl. We'll get camel. We'll be there. We'll be Abu Dhabiing it up with the very, very best of them. Let me just ask you about, because I've always said, I will not believe the A's are moving to Las Vegas until I see a shovel in the dirt. Well, by God, I'm never going to like John Fisher for what he's done. But I do see a shovel in the dirt. There is a stadium coming out of the ground for the A's in Las Vegas. Tell me about the buzz. Does it already feel like the A's are Vegas's preferred baseball town? Are they being talked about a little bit more than other baseball teams? Is the city ready to call itself the home of the A's?
Yeah, I think so. I know a lot of people who are behind the scenes with the A's. A lot of good friends of mine over the years, former colleagues are there. So they got some sharp people there. It's so far out. I mean, it's 2028. The good news for the A's is they're signing some pretty good players long term. The ballpark, the minor league ballpark, and I don't think you've brought your boys to where the minor league ballpark is here. It's the best. I think it's the best stadium in America. I'm not talking major league or minor league. What we have here right across the street from my house where we're doing this now is one of the best ballparks you'll ever see, ever. Las Vegas ballpark. It's perfect. But there is shovels in the ground. There's concrete being poured. I've always been a guy, more jobs in Vegas, Vegas, Vegas. People will come here to see their teams play the A's just like they do with the Raiders and the Golden Knights. But it's going the way it's going. I didn't like the A's much in the East Bay at the end because I didn't like the way they screwed over the Raiders. And they did. They did a 10-year lease behind the Raiders' back, which stung. And that was one of the main reasons why the Raiders left. Mark Davis didn't want to leave Oakland, never wanted to leave. That 10-year lease that they signed back there had an effect on moving that to Carson before Carson got killed and went back to there and then came to Vegas. So I've always said, I love baseball. I'll be there when the Yankees play. I'll be there when the Yankees play. I don't have any ill will against anybody there. I'm at the age now where I don't want to fight former teams and all that. But, yeah, for those who don't believe the A's are coming here, just look at a drone. Or when you fly into Vegas, they're on their way.
It's going to happen. There's no doubt. Fuji again saying, what's the story behind the A's not securing patents? That's just, it'll all happen. It'll all come out in the wash. Everyone's just positioning themselves, and don't worry about that. I don't think anyone needs to worry about that.
Yeah, but well, you know, one thing about Vegas again, because you love Vegas, you come here a lot, and that means a lot to me and everybody here. I say this about everybody with Vegas. Everybody's got a problem with their team moving to Vegas. We're going to get the NBA really soon. Adam Silver's about to make that announcement. The NBA is going to come to Vegas. We're not that big of a community, right? We got a couple million people that live here, but we have 44 million that fly in. Now, let me repeat that number. We have 43 to 48 million people that come every year, and we're having a really down year. Last year, calendar year, was bad for a number of reasons, politically, Canada, all of that. So everybody's ripping on Vegas for, well, you got too many other fans coming in. Well, more people are going to come to Vegas for March Madness than are going to go to any freaking regional, that are going to go to any hub city and watch 4 games in the Elite Eight. They're all coming to Vegas to watch the games in Vegas and go to steakhouses and stay in great hotels and go to strip clubs and go here and there. They're not going to Ames, Iowa. They're not going to San Jose. They're coming to Vegas. So don't hate Vegas. We're the same Vegas you loved your whole life. The problem is Vegas needs a mental reset because we're charging $14 for water when you got cotton mouth at 3 a.m. and you got to drink water. and they're hitting you for 14. And when you do sign your restaurant bill, you look at that 15% or 7% charge at the bottom, call the server over and say, I ain't paying that shit. I just dropped $400 on dinner. I'm about to tip you 20 to 25%. But take that $18 surcharge off my bill or you're not getting it.
Again, it's not something that the waiter or waitress can do. Be good to your waiters and waitresses. We all know that. Yes. But yeah, look, the problem with Las Vegas right now is the $22 bacon, egg, and cheese. Yeah, that's the problem. You need to, the average Joe could go to Vegas and just get a moment of feeling like, all right, you got something for being here. Here's a little something to make you feel special. All of those special moments that was just as simple as a free buffet or a free car back to the airport. All of that shit has vanished, and it needs to come back to Las Vegas. I don't know how it will. Again, whenever you put corporate money behind absolutely everything, it's sucked the most amount of cash out of everybody at all times, and that is what is hurting Vegas. It used to be a place where an average Joe could feel like a big shot for 2 minutes. You can't feel like a big shot when you don't have the $14 for the bottle of water.
Well, you nailed that. And I think you asked how it's going to come back. I think we're going to learn the hard way. There's 2 major casino companies that own Vegas, 2. And the debt service on their real estate is so enormous. So think of this. You have a house in San Francisco that's worth $800,000, but the debt service on it is $1.4 million. You're just going to walk away from the house. It's not worth it. You can't have, the mortgage is worth more than that. That's what's happening in Vegas now. You have these companies that are paying hedge funds and other corporate entities billions of dollars for rent to have their casino on top of it. The only way they're going to make it back is by upcharging for parking, for resorts fees, and all of that. And some people are starting to get in line, but I want to go back real quickly to March Madness because it's right here, and I do a lot in town with. I have multiple casino partners on my noon to 2 show.
Best time to go to Vegas, by the way. I've had so many great March Madness runs in Vegas. Oh my God!
So these are our best customers are Damon Bruce for March Madness. He's going to come every year. He's going to stay in a hotel room. He's going to be with his buddies. He's got extra money. He's going to do a steak dinner. He's going to buy beers at the bar. You're good. And we are running you out of town. We're taking our best customers are not Super Bowl. It's not the weekly Raider fan who comes in from Oakland and they're great. It's not the, I'm coming in to see the Eagles at Sphere. Our best customers are March Madness customers. And now instead of letting them get a booth, no, we're going to charge you $1,000 for a booth in a casino. Excuse me? Now, if you get up from your seat, someone's going to sit in your seat. Now, if you want to get a free bucket of Modelo's, no, we're gonna charge some type of extra fee on the service here. So I always say protect our valuable customers, the people that come here 3 or 4 times a year, once every 5 years. Guys like you that will come to see Fish, March Madness, Indiana playing the national championship game. We need you to come back because we're fun. We just need you to feel like you're wanted.
Absolutely. It's just it doesn't take much to give somebody 5 minutes of, ooh, I got a little bit of a deal. And that's part of Vegas's allure. The average Joe can feel like a big shot for just one night. Again, it's tough to be a big shot when you can't afford the bottle of water. And that is the problem. I think they'll figure it out. By the way, Jesse Jaso says, my 2 favorite media hosts. Thank you very, very much. Our careers have been so linked together. It's amazing. It's so much fun to do this with you. And it's amazing how much throughout the years when we disagree things, we always find common ground. For example, I think we can both agree way too much curling this Olympics on my TV. Way too much curling. What is going on with all of this? I've never seen more curling in an Olympic coverage. Not ever. Why? Why are we getting inundated with curling, JP?
I think it's on a lot. It's on a lot during the day. I'm happy you're bringing up this Olympic topic because I was on the radio this past Sunday, the first Sunday without football, or the first Sunday after the Super Bowl. And in a 13-minute moment. I'm on the air and I got my 4-pack of games going on the 18th hole of the AT&T at Pebble. The final 30 laps of the Daytona 500. I had the Olympics on and the NBA All-Star game, all in the going live at the same time. The Olympics should be much bigger. So my wife is really big on the Olympics. She watches every night. And she kind of knows what happens during the day, but she likes the coverage at night where they recap it and they give you the storylines. Yeah, too much curling. But here's my new hot take. I don't think I've ever seen a sport more difficult than women's figure skating. I don't know how these gals do this. The 4 quads, they have to land on a blade perfectly, coming out of doing 4 of these things and land. If they don't and they fall, 0 chance they medal. If they fall once, 0. And then the pressure on these women who weigh anything from 80 to 110 pounds, the mental stress on them when they're sitting there for their score. I told my wife the other night as she's watching it, and she was so sad someone fell. I go, this is more dramatic than I ever remember. I don't remember Dorothy Hamill falling. I don't like all these gals are falling, Damon. And it's tremendous pressure.
What's amazing, go back and watch like what was a gold medal balance beam routine from the 60s or 70s and look at the shit they're doing now. Dorothy Hamill wasn't trying to pull off triple toe sow cows or whatever the hell that is. It's unbelievable. And to think that your entire life, like you gotta practice for 15 years and you get 3 minutes. And it's not enough to just win the game. You have to complete every pass. You have to be 100 in your passing percentage when you're out there. And it's amazing. I tell you, I like the bobsledding. I like luge. I like ski jumping. I could watch guys go off the big hill all freaking day long. My boys had a great time watching Michaela Schifrin last night win a gold medal in the slalom. I'm down with the Winter Olympics, man. And being someone who was raised in upstate New York, Lake Placid was a really big deal. So I've always loved the Winter Olympics, and this has been a really good Winter Olympics. I like the speed skating. It's good times. By the way, my 2 favorite, we got that. Fuji says Vegas, a great place to host the Super Bowl. It should almost be between those 2 cities. The Super Bowl should go to Vegas and New Orleans, and if they just bounce back between those 2 every year, I'd be fine with it. I really would be.
Yeah, I think a big topic, especially for your audience in the Bay, and we both have a nice Bay Area audience, is do the Niners get another one? And I think they proved they're going to. So the California Boomer Esiason went big on Sam Darnold losing money. The California tax, should it be there? SoFi, I've been to SoFi 3 times. It's a generic Walmart. SoFi is not a great stadium. It's in Inglewood. It's not in Malibu. It's not in Hollywood. It's not in the San Fernando Valley. It's in Inglewood, which is not a great spot.
I've heard say I don't like SoFi Stadium.
Yeah, because it's very generic. It's nice. It's a giant, generic Walmart. San Francisco owns SoFi Stadium. The Niners own it. And people can say, well, Kansas City owns Vegas. Well, yeah, you've been playing well, and you're buying a lot of seats here. But it's different in L.A.
The Seahawks officially own Santa Clara now.
So as we get ready to wrap this up, do you believe San Francisco will eventually be taken off the Super Bowl list? Because SoFi is going nowhere. That's a monster. Vegas is definitely in the rotation. You cannot touch New Orleans. I think Miami's untouchable. Tampa Bay, I think, could lose the rotation. I think San Jose, Santa Clara can. And then I don't. Maybe if Chicago builds a brand new stadium in Chicago, not Indiana, and it's dome, they'll give them one for building it. But I like to see it on a 4 or 5 rotation. New Orleans, Miami, Vegas, LA. Who would be your 5th? Those are the 4 immovable objects.
Again, I don't know if it would be San Francisco. I think that there's enough money and business to be done out here where that's the allure. You know, we got the hotel near the convention center. That's part of the allure. And the positive vibe coming out of this. You know, I wasn't there for it. You can tell me. I heard Indianapolis did a hell of a job hosting the Super Bowl. Everything is convenient. Everything is in walking distance. Everything's connected by tunnels. So maybe Indy, but that's just not a sexy place to do it. Again, this is where I think an international an international payoff comes up on that rotation, and the Super Bowl every 10 years is in somewhere other than the United States. I could really see that happening. Couple more supers, and then we'll get going. Macklin effing Celebrini. Christopher, you are right. This guy is so special. The player that the Sharks got, JT, that is right now, I think, Canada's leading point getter. He is, like, I'm not even kidding. He's 13 years old, and he's one of the 5 best hockey players in the world, undebatable right now.
I agree 100%, and that's what happens when you hit on a great draft pick. When you have one of these great draft picks, you take number 1 overall or a high pick that turns out to deliver, it changes everything. Here in Vegas, we got Jack Eichel, who's the best player probably on Team USA or one of them, and Mark Stone, who's a captain for Canada. A lot of hockey players want to play via free agency. They get started in Ottawa or Edmonton or somewhere, and they go, no, I want to get out of here and I want to go play somewhere. San Jose's got a nice core, and they're finally going in the right direction. They're a big rival with us in Vegas. Vegas has a rival with Colorado, the Avalanche, San Jose, LA, where our buddy Sammy Batesh now does posts for the Kings. And hockey's great, man.
Have you heard his official nickname? He was sitting there in front of us.
Samboni is right there.
You and I, like, it's our job to come up with things like that. How did we not think of that? We've known this guy for 25 years. Shame on the both of us, seriously. JT, you coming to the Bay for Raiders Niners? Yeah. Oh, he will be here if that game is in the Bay. That game could be in Mexico City. I hope it's not.
Yeah, I think it's going to be in Mexico City. I think, but I don't have any inside information. But I think, and if it's not, I'm definitely coming up there for that. And I love it. Again, a private matter. I'm flying up tomorrow morning. There's an event for a former Raider employee, a Mount Rushmore employee. They're having a celebration of life that I'm going to be a part of. I am flying into Oakland. I'm on the 640. Oh boy. Okay, I'll get there. I'm going to get out to the Dublin East Bay area. Going to spend some time with a family member and fly back home at 8 at night. But I am pro Bay Area. Always have been, but coming off San Francisco, Original Joe's, North Beach, the North Star, where I had an ice cold Tito's soda, to be at Fisherman's Wharf, where I went to Pier 39 and had an unbelievable lunch. And then I went to Bimbo's. I went to the Fillmore. Okay, I walked around Moscone Center. Way to go, San Francisco. It was great. I'm happy to be back. I hope to come back more. If we wanted to do this, I mean, there are some people on the radio in San Francisco, God bless, including my friend Greg Papa, who I was able to see and give him a hug while I was there. But this is the future. 2 guys like this on the radio once a week, every day, every 2 weeks. It's better than your other options. So follow us both and build this thing, because this is the wave of the future. YouTube, indeed, platforms to get you sports very quickly.
Indeed. Fuji, one more saying Nashville on the Super Bowl circuit.
Yes.
Look, when Nashville gets their new stadium,
100%.
That's a fun town to go to. So, yes, you will see that get rewarded with the Super Bowl without a doubt. That's it, man. This is the easiest hour I'm ever going to do in my entire life. Talking to you is so much fun. I always end my show with Today in History. Are you ready to just dot some history here real quick?
Yeah, I'm going on the air in an hour. I could open with this. Let's hear this.
Okay, so first of all, we start with happy birthdays. A big day for birthdays. Smokey Robinson is 86 years old today. Smokey can sing it still. Jeff Daniels, whose entire career's come down to that one toilet scene in Dumb and Dumber. God bless him. Jeff Daniels, 71 years old. Prince Andrew is 66 years old today and arrested. It is going to come apart, everyone. This is good. This is really good.
Hey, how about that when your brother's the king and he can't get to the alert, get out of Dodge? When your brother's the king and does, no, let's just wipe that out. He's good. That's when you know you're in trouble, when the king can't help you.
I got nothing for you, buddy. I got no fish tickets for you, man. Let's see. Seal is 63 today. Kissed by a Rose. Benicio del Toro, one of the best actors.
Great actor.
59. Nikola Jokic. How old do you think Jokic is?
Wow, I just saw something with him the other day, and I want to say 31.
You nailed it. He feels like he's already 38. He's been so good and around so long. He's only 31 years old. Millie Bobby Brown, who was the girl in Stranger Things, is now 22 years old. So happy birthdays all around. Very sad story just from a day ago. There was an avalanche up in Tahoe and several people lost their lives. It's such a sad story. Today in 1848, the Donner Party was found. The Donner Party had 89 members reaching California. Only 45 survived the trip. They were just miles away from reaching their destination, but became snowbound. And there was cannibal. I mean, if you've ever taken the drive up to Tahoe, you know about the Donner Party. Found them today in 1849. Yeesh.
I want to stay on the Tahoe avalanche. I got pretty emotional because I was texting a buddy of mine and he sent me a video and I forwarded the video, and AccuWeather asked for my permission to post it. And he was just in his backyard and he was up to his knees, and in his backyard he was safe. And for a decade, I did my show from the American Century, the golf tournament up there when it started. That was epic. And I'd spent a lot of time in Tahoe skiing at North Star and Heavenly. And it's always been a spot for me and my buddies. For whatever reason, the wives, my wife's not here, the wives never say no when you say, I'm going skiing with my buddies in Tahoe. So I would do that every year. So I know that area. I know the people there. I freaking love Tahoe. I was emotional when they said 8 skiers were dead, 1's missing, because I know that area so well, and I can't imagine what it was like to pass that way. May God give speed to those families up in Tahoe. And man, the snow's coming down. Be careful, man. The snow can kill, and a lot of good people lost their lives with the tremendous tragedy.
The scary thing is, and I've heard this because Jillian was in a meeting yesterday with a guy who had to leave the meeting 3 different times, and he was on the phone. He was on the phone with a friend of his whose wife is missing. And that was a mom's skiing trip that was going on up there. Those are mothers of young children. Oh, it's so sad. Oh my God. Jillian started crying yesterday just knowing that.
I can understand.
Yeah, it's so sad. Let's see. Not necessarily a happier note, but a little bit of a lighter note. In 1881, Kansas became the first state to ban all alcoholic beverages. And you know what, Kansas? No one's thought you've been cool. Not for a day, not since. So you can't be the first state to say no beer and ever be held in regard again. So screw you, Kansas. Oh, here we go. Speaking of alcohol. Today in 1980, Bon Scott, the original lead vocalist of AC/DC, died of alcohol poisoning. You and I have seen AC/DC together.
It's a long way to the top if you want to rock and roll. Bon Scott, better than Brian Johnson. Like Brian Johnson, like him. Love Bon Scott. That is the front man for AC/DC. Quick story. Well, you mentioned going to Melbourne with the Niners. I went backpacking through Australia with 5 friends, 5 of us total, in 1994, and we landed on a little plane, a private little prop plane on an area called Fraser Island. And we went up with our backpacks and pitched a tent next to 4 girls who were spending the night. Turned out to be one hell of a story. And they said to us, I'll never forget it, hey, what kind of music do you like? And we're like, everything. We like Rush, this and that. They go, what about Akadaka? And I go, excuse me? What's Akadaka? In Australia, they call AC/DC Akadaka. So Bon Scott, what a great front man.
What do they call In Excess? If AC/DC's Akadaka, how do they pronounce In Excess?
I do not know, but I hope to see you out here soon. Are you thinking about an In-N-Out March Madness, like an In-N-Out kind of thing? My wife's fighting Illini are looking good. The Illini.
They do. They just beat Indiana the other day in Champaign there. I will say this. My travel money just got spent on Hoosiers fall tour. My Indiana Hoosiers took an awful lot of my yearly travel budget right out of me. I don't know if I'm going to be there for March Madness this year. Again, if you can come across a fish miracle for me, maybe you can see me for fish, but it's going to be tough to make it out there for March. Real quick, Today in 82, rock legend Ozzy Osbourne was arrested for urinating on the Alamo. Today in 85, Coca-Cola introduced Cherry Coke. Are you a Coke or Pepsi guy?
I don't do either. I love Dr. Pepper. Dr. Pepper, Diet Dr. Pepper is the only soda I've ever had in my life that tastes great. You got to get rid of the sugar. Try a Diet Dr. Pepper. It'll change
your life. Today in 2006, the Rolling Stones played in front of the largest open show in public at the Copacabana Beach in Brazil. 1.3 million were at that concert.
Shout out to my wife, February 15th, which is a few days ago. It's February 19th. February 15th, 1998, I met my wife walking in to a Rolling Stones concert. My kids would not have been born. My kids would not be on earth if Keith Richards was dead months before that from an overdose. So I love the Stones and thank them every day.
When you think about how amazing our lives are, right? When you think about how everything looks like a grand plan, but you look back at it when it's all done and it was a random set of circumstances. Imagine if the person who dropped you off that night had dropped you off at a different door, had dropped you off at another entrance. You would have never met your wife. Your life would be completely different from the one you're living right now. Isn't that incredible?
Yeah, I believe in fate. I believe in fate, and I'm going to do a self-promotion plug here. My book, The Handoff. Look at that. How beautiful is that cover?
Yes.
That book is all about fate. One door opens, another door closes. Door closes, go to the one that's about to be open. How you meet people, how you build relationships, what you do. Fate has a lot to do with my life. It's fate. And a lot of it's luck, but it's hard work and fate. So you never know when that moment's going to happen, when you meet the most important person in your life. You host the best radio show of your life. You meet someone important. Let it come to you. And when it gets dark and you don't know what's going to happen and you're at a point in your life where you think the doors are closing, no, there's a door open. You haven't seen it yet. It's going to pop open and run through it.
Great lesson. The trick is to surrender to the flow, if you don't mind me saying. A little fish for you there. 2010, Tiger Woods admitted to having several affairs. Oh my goodness! Around 2:30 a.m. on November 27th of 2009. We all know that what happened, the crash. His wife knocked out the windows with a golf club. But today in 2010 is when he had his press conference with his mom sitting there saying, "I've been a little naughty," and what a moment in time that was. Let me just say this, JT. You talk about letting things happen. Had Lee Hammer not given me the opportunity to be your producer for Raiders games a billion years ago, we would have never met. This wouldn't have happened. So many moments in our lives wouldn't have connected, and my life would have been less rich for that ever of having happened. So thank God we came together. Thank God we came together today. Hit like and subscribe, everyone, on both of our channels, if you would, please. We're going to be doing much more than before, especially now that my man Fernando Mendoza is about to resurrect the entire Raider franchise from the dead, like Lazarus coming out of something biblical there. There you go.
Take care, my friends. I'm going on Raider Nation Radio. You can find that anywhere you get your radio. And please subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'll be doing more with Damon and others. And great being here today. I had a blast. Let's do this again very soon, my friend.
Very, very soon. Thank you so much for watching. For JT, I'm Damon. Sports don't build character. They reveal it. And like that, they're gone.